Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Bob Ferguson pats himself on the back for Seattle being a world-class city while ignoring the massive problems. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
A really bad ruling came out from the Supreme Court today regarding birthright citizenship. Now, we all knew what this fight was going to be about. It was going to be about the line in the 14th Amendment that says subject to the jurisdiction. Now, people who think like us think, well, does that mean jurisdiction of the United States? Or does that mean jurisdiction of where they came from? People like us think to ourselves, you know, it doesn't really make a lot of sense that just because you were 12 months pregnant, came to the United States, intentionally popped out a baby, that now that baby can be president of the United States and is now entitled to all the welfare programs that we have here. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It's something the founders never envisioned. It's something the people who wrote this amendment never envisioned. In fact, we know because we have their writings. So by a 5-4 decision, Chief Justice Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett joined the liberal judges to say, yeah, we're not going along with President Trump's executive order, and we are upholding birthright citizenship. However, when you actually analyze this thing, it makes no sense. Because, excuse me, all tongue-tied today. This is how mad I am. Essentially, what the Supreme Court ruled is that if somebody breaks into my house who is 9 months pregnant and has a baby on my floor, I now am stuck having them as members of my family and paying for them for the rest of their lives and my life and their descendants and everybody else. That's basically the ruling that they have here. So, Roberts makes the following argument. Don't get mad at me. These are his arguments, and we're going to get to Clarence Thomas in his incredible 91-page dissenting opinion. We'll get there. But first, let's start with this. Roberts argues that the Citizenship Clause was written specifically to overturn Dred Scott versus Sanford, the decision of 1857, which would hold back black Americans from becoming citizens because citizenship depended on ancestry rather than birthplace. He wrote, citizenship, then and now, was the right to have rights to freely participate in our political community. According to Roberts, the Reconstruction Congress deliberately constitutionalized birthright citizenship to ensure future governments could never deny citizenship based upon race, ancestry, or lineage. Now, this is a fundamental misunderstanding of what happened with Dred Scott versus Sanford, where they were trying to make sure that the slaves didn't have these problems. That's what it was. But this wasn't so the entire world can come here. You know, we're the only ones, one of the only countries in the world that has this ridiculous nonsense because every other country realizes people are going to take advantage of them if you do it. The Trump administration argued subject to the jurisdiction thereof requires you to look at where they're from. Where they are from. And if you are going to make the argument that it's subject to the United States, then if you're subject to the United States laws, you did not come here legally. You broke our laws to come into this country, or you were meant as a temporary resident. So subject to the jurisdiction thereof means if you're subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, you came here illegally. You do not get the rights of an American. That's the argument the government made. Roberts rejected that interpretation and concluded that the government was attempting to create new concepts like full allegiance or primary allegiance onto constitutional language that had never been understood that way. Instead, he used the argument of the United States versus Wong Kim Ark from 1898. The case involved a man born in San Francisco to Chinese parents who were lawfully domiciled in the United States but were barred from becoming naturalized citizens under the Chinese Exclusion Acts. When Wong Kim Ark returned from China, federal officials argued he was not an American citizen because his parents were Chinese nationals. The Supreme Court rejected that argument. Roberts concluded that Wong Kim Ark settled the constitutional question more than 125 years ago. According to the majority, the 14th Amendment generally guarantees citizenship to children born in the United States, except for long-standing historical exceptions, such as children of foreign diplomats, children of enemy occupying armies, and historical tribal sovereignty exceptions later addressed by Congress. Children of occupying armies, you say, huh? What do you call an invasion of 10 million people who are not citizens of this country? What do you call it when Venezuela empties out their jails to send everybody to us? What do you call it when Canada says we'll be a pass-through? When Mexico says we'll be a pass-through because we don't want to get stuck with them? I would say that's an enemy occupying army. And foreign diplomats? So wait a second. If the foreign diplomat comes here legally, under the invitation of the State Department, following all those rules, their kid's not allowed to become a U.S. citizen, which makes sense. But somebody who comes here illegally, breaks all our laws to get into the country, they get to be citizens just because their mom had them here. That's basically what they're saying. Now, one thing in a concurring opinion written by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who proves yet again she was a terrible choice for this and a DEI hire for the bench, she used some interesting language in this. I get that she's trying to be edgy and cool, but this comes off when I try to be edgy and cool because I'm old. You don't get to be edgy and cool anymore when you're an adult. So, responding to Justice Clarence Thomas's historical analysis, and by the way, it's a masterpiece. Justice Clarence Thomas's 91-page dissent is a masterpiece. But she wrote in response to that those who drafted the 14th Amendment understood the assignment. We're using TikTok language now. We're using the woke speak of the teens. That's what we're doing now. She also said that the writing of the 14th Amendment was like a teacher scolding a student for bullying one classmate in hopes the student learns the broader lesson of treating everyone with kindness. I'm sorry, that's woke nonsense. Where's the law? Where's the actual law there? Elsewhere, in the decision, while criticizing the court's approach to nationwide injunctions, Jackson wrote, "The power-hungry actors are, wait for it," she wrote that. She wrote, wait for it, the district courts. Not very judicial. You've got a 91-page dissent, and you respond with memes. You respond with TikTok language. Now, the kids may like that, but down the road, if we still have lawyers who can actually read based on what's going on in the schools, they're going to look at this and go, who appointed this moron? Now, the fun. Justice Clarence.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah,
okay, boomer.
That's what hey, I agree. Guess what? So is she. Okay? She's our age, dude. You don't get to use the kid language because you think it's cool. I'm agreeing with you. 1,000%. I am completely agreeing with you. And by the way, which of us is younger in this studio here? Should we do that right now? Last time I checked, you graduated high school before I got there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, boomer.
Okay. All right. Who's the boomer around? Neither of us are boomers. Boomers? What are they? They're like, well, okay, I'm not going to insult members of our audience, but boomers are pretty old right now.
Yeah, to them we all are. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. To all the kids, to all the young folk. All right. The masterpiece of Justice Clarence Thomas's dissent. He said the court has repeatedly expanded the 14th Amendment far beyond what Reconstruction Congress intended. Quote, the court has repurposed the 14th Amendment to protect its own set of preferred rights that the Reconstruction Congress never contemplated and cannot find support in the text. He added, today the court does so again by recognizing a constitutional right to citizenship for the children of all foreign-born tourists and illegal aliens. He quoted Frederick Douglass and Reconstruction-era debates writing blacks were entitled to citizenship because they were Americans. They had no other homeland, owed no allegiance to any foreign power, and were subject to no other authority. He said they fought and bled in the same battles, gained and gloried in the same victories, and were liable to be called upon to defend America in a time of war alongside every other citizen, which means they were serving this country. He argues that those words capture the original understanding of citizenship itself. He said citizenship means belonging to the American political community, having no other homeland, owing no other allegiance to any foreign power, and being subject to no other authority. Therefore, you can't reconcile that with automatic citizenship for children whose parents retain allegiance to another sovereign. Thomas relied heavily on the congressional debates surrounding the 14th Amendment. Oh, you mean the people who actually wrote the thing? So as opposed to saying, what did they mean? What did they think? Hey, guess what? It's actually here. On May 30th, 1866, Senator Jacob Howard, who introduced the Citizenship Clause, explained, this will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, or who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers. Dude, you couldn't have just included that in the text there, saved us all a lot of trouble, just put that in the amendment itself. He said the amendment would settle the great question of citizenship. Thomas pairs Howard's remarks with those of Senator Lyman Trumbull, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who explained that being subject to the jurisdiction meant not owing allegiance to anybody else. Thomas argues that these statements demonstrate the framers understood the Citizenship Clause to require complete political allegiance, not mere physical presence. So if you are expecting a baby any second, you go into labor in Mexico, and you put 1 foot over the border, guess what? Now that kid, after that kid is born, gets to be a citizen of the United States. Justice Alito argued that the majority effectively read those words out of the Constitution. He said, here's a hypothetical. Suppose that country, regarding subject to the jurisdiction thereof, suppose that country is a strategic adversary or enemy of the United States. Suppose the child never visited the United States and was inculcated with hatred of this country. According to this court, that person is a citizen of the United States. Even if he plots to harm this country, he cannot be deprived of his status as a citizen, at least under current precedent. He's right. Justice Gorsuch also said something interesting. He wrote separately from the dissent, but he wrote this. He wrote that Wong Kim Ark involved parents who are lawfully domiciled in the United States. And he says what matters isn't whether a child's parents are citizens. What matters is whether they have made this place their home and are thus domiciled within the United States. Temporary visitors to this country do not choose to make a permanent home here, and their children thus cannot claim the privilege of citizenship. Now, that shows that he's drawing a distinction between temporary visitors and those permanently domiciled in the United States. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote, in my view, the executive order does not violate the 14th Amendment, but the order does contravene a federal statute. He cites it. Congress could, consistent with the 14th Amendment, amend this statute or otherwise enact new legislation establishing exceptions to birthright citizenship for children born to foreign citizens unlawfully or temporarily in the country. But Congress has not done so yet. Why do I end with this to explain this? Because at the end of the day, things like abortion, things like birthright citizenship, all of this stuff can be addressed by Congress. Things like ballots arriving after Election Day can be addressed by Congress. And too many times, both sides of the political aisle try to make laws using the court, which is meant to interpret law, not create law. In Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court created law out of nothing because they wanted abortion to be legal. Here, the court can interpret the law, and here I think you have a better case for interpreting it the way I want it to go, which is people who come here illegally, if they're subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, they came here illegally and therefore are not citizens. I think that's a much stronger legal argument, but this could all be fixed by Congress. If Congress wanted to enact a law about this, it could do so. What's the point of having the majority if we never use the majority? Friend of the show, Matt Gilbert, made a great point on social media this morning. If everybody's worried about blowing the filibuster, then you know what? You make all these laws, you vote on all these laws with the majority that you have, and then you codify the filibuster, that it has to be X amount before the Republicans might get booted out in the midterm elections. You can do that. And now I'm becoming more and more convinced, even though I have opposed this the whole time, that that's the way to go. Because unfortunately, what's going to happen, let's play this through to its natural conclusion. What's going to happen now is that the Democrats, let's say they win the midterms. They win the midterms, and for the next 2 years, we're going to be talking about impeachment because that's what the Democrats are going to be doing. That's what's going to happen. Then we're into election season. Then you're talking about, well, the Trump administration is stopped dead in its tracks in its agenda. The Democrats are going to run on Trump didn't do all the things he promised to do. They're going to deny that they stopped him. They're going to say, you had the House. You had the Senate. They're not wrong, by the way. You had the House. You had the Senate. You had the White House. You didn't do any of this stuff. We stepped in to save our democracy. So vote for AOC. Vote for Gavin Newsom. Vote for any of these guys. And you know what? With the way things are going in this country right now, people might be stupid enough to actually do that. They might, because they'll go, we're done with crazy time. Let's say J.D. Vance gets the nomination. Well, he's going to be hit with Trump derangement syndrome 2.0. If it's Marco Rubio, you might get some more of the moderates. But overall, the leftist media is going to go, he's Hitler. He's Hitler. He's terrible. He's awful, like they do to every single Republican. Going back, they did this to George Bush, who now they love. They did this to Ronald Reagan, who now they quote all the time. They forget what they did. They're going to do the exact same thing that they did to Trump. And now, let's say you have an AOC as president, and because she's the first female, Hispanic, whatever, that becomes the president, she's going to ride a wave like Obama will of popularity, take the House and the Senate with her, and what's the first thing they're going to do? Because Democrats don't get timid about these things. The first thing they're going to do is say, that's a nice border wall you have there. You know, let's sell it for pennies on the dollar because that's just what Joe Biden did. And they're going to open up the border crossings, and they're going to take that entry app that Joe Biden's department created, flip it back from what the Trump administration did with it, where you're able to take yourself out of the country. They're going to bring it back to importing, and they're going to import 10 million, 20 million, 30 million illegal aliens, and every country is going to say, send them. Send all the ones we don't want. Send the U.S. the undesirables. You think I'm kidding? They literally did this for 4 years before Trump was back in office. That is literally what they did. And that is what they will do again. Except this time, they're going to say, Supreme Court said we could do it. Supreme Court said we would do it. I am not one for breaking the filibuster because you have to imagine what your enemy would do with it. Because the Democrats, if they have the majority, they'll just do the same thing and do the same thing and do the same thing and do the same thing. But I'm beginning to really like Matt's idea of codifying the filibuster if you have the majority for this short amount of time after you get your entire agenda done. Will it look bad? Yeah. But at this point, Democrats want millions of illegal aliens in this country. Democrats want more Laken Rileys. They want more Trooper Christopher Gadds. They want more dead bodies so that way they can get their political agenda. That's what they want. They want more illegal aliens voting. And so there is one way to solve this. One way. And that is through Congress. And that's the way it should have been solved originally. It should have been solved with legislation, not through the courts. Clarence Thomas very clearly called it out that everybody's expanding power and expanding power and expanding power, and there's nothing actually to base it on. in the Constitution. They're just making it up as they go. So, last time I checked, Congress makes laws. Congress should be the ones to fix this. They should be the ones to fix what goes on with abortion. They should be the ones to fix what happens with Election Day. They can do it. So I ask you, what is Speaker Mike Johnson doing about this? What is John Thune doing about this? Nothing. Nothing. Individual members of Congress have their own proposals they've come out with. But right now, you want to solve this? Don't yell and scream online about it. Don't yell and scream about justices or say Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Roberts or DEI hires or whatever nonsense that is. Instead, you say, where is Congress? Because they're the ones with the actual power to fix this. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's going on, man?
Well, I'll tell you, I've just noticed in my lifetime that apparently all the laws and the Constitution, everything in the United States, everything the way it was written is not the way it was actually written and meant, according to the Democrat Party. Everything is challenged. We do this over and over again. And I don't understand how this keeps becoming an issue. This is, you know what they've done is they've turned everything over to the courts, and the courts are the ones that are making precedents in this country. That's it.
Yeah,
we
and
don't
that's the
get to
problem.
choose anything.
That's the problem. We have now abdicated our legal system, or excuse me, our laws of our land. We now say president gets to do it by executive order because we've expanded the powers of the presidency so much. We have put so much power in the presidency, which was definitely not what our founders intended, regardless if it's a Democrat or Republican, and we have given it to the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, I don't know what Congress does all day. And I'm saying this while we're in the majority. I don't know what they do all day because there are so many ways they could fix this. Ron, I share your frustration. Appreciate the call. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let me know what you guys think about this decision. Would love to have some fiery conversation about this today. Or if you just want to vent about it, you give us a call, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, you have Turd Ferguson saying that Seattle is a world-class city. And that's why we got the World Club. Yeah, we're bringing the receipts for you. We'll give them to you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Yesterday, Turd Ferguson, Gourmet Zahalai, Katie Wilson, and Dow Constantine had a press conference to say, look at the great job we're doing with the World Cup. Look at the great job. Because the sports magazines said that America game was the best one and want more games here in Seattle, look at the great job we're doing. And what's funny is, during different parts of this, they call out different neighborhoods that are looking so great. I noticed they didn't say Chinatown. I noticed they didn't say Ballard. What do they always say? The stadiums, the waterfront, Seattle Center. They just keep saying that over and over and over again because those areas do look great. That's why Jonathan Cho, Andrea Suarez, and I went to check out 12th and Jackson, Lewis Park, and various other places around here. You want to go up to Aurora? Didn't we just cover a story about how they need to install concrete barriers to slow down cars because there are too many drive-by shootings because of the pimp gang wars up in North Seattle? But then you have Turd Ferguson start off the conference by saying we're a world-class city, right?
And I remember talking about how competitive it is for any city to be awarded a World Cup match or matches, and how competitive that process is. And you've got to be a world-class city to prevail through that very competitive process. I think we're one of the 11 United States cities, if I recall correctly. But it's clear from those most elite cities that our city and our state are the most world-class of all. Again, not just my opinion. You've seen on social media what people around the world have said as they've come right here to experience what's going on here. It truly is remarkable. Not a surprise for us who live here and know this place, but it's been very rewarding to see people around the world see what we all know and have come to appreciate. Lastly, I have literally traveled the world to see soccer matches. I've twice gone to England to see tours of English Premier League soccer matches. I've been to Barcelona and seen Messi play in Barcelona. So I know my way around soccer fields and atmospheres. I'm not surprised that Seattle is getting this kind of reaction. It literally is world-class in every possible conceivable sense of the word, and it's been a real pleasure for the state to partner with all these truly amazing partners to help make it that reality.
Yes, all the naked people this weekend was really world-class. All the videos that headlined every Fox News show last night, from Turning Point, USA's Frontlines, from our friend Jonathan Cho, the naked people running around, yeah, in front of children, world-class city. From the fact that when I drove to work again this morning, guess what was still there? All the tents on 4th Avenue, which are now already coming back. That's even earlier than I expected. Next Monday, there's going to be another game here. In fact, there's a game tomorrow and there's a game on Monday. It might even be the U.S. playing on Monday in that game, and there are rumors that somebody from the White House who's big and orange might be coming, or J.D. Vance might be coming, if the U.S. actually qualifies for that. Certain people are already making travel arrangements with the airport for a presidential visit, according to the Seattle Times. But everybody is ignoring what the rest of Seattle looks like while a few areas are nice. And when all the tourists leave, are we going to have articles about how we went from record highs of transit ridership to plummeting lows? Are we going to discuss the problems that Seattle is actually having, or leave them on the back burner? We'll deal with it afterwards. Is that what it's going to be? Because we're the ones who have to live here when all the Australians are gone, when all the Egyptians are gone, when all the Iranians are gone, when everybody else who came to town, when they're all gone. We still have to deal with the mess that Bob Ferguson, Katie Wilson, Gourmet Zahalai, Dow Constantine, and the rest of them all made for us. And I knew this was going to happen. I said this was going to happen. If you want to have some fun, I took that little clip of Turd Ferguson. I put it on social media along with some of Jonathan Cho's videos side by side with it. So you can see the homeless encampments right outside the Space Needle in our world-class city. You know why they had this press conference? Because people are saying, yeah, it's nice and all right now. What happens when everybody leaves? And why are there tents on 4th Avenue again? And why does Ballard look the way it does? And why does North Seattle look the way it does? And why does SoDo look the way it does? And why does Georgetown look the way it does? And what happens when all this goes away? They're trying to take the win while they can. And I'm getting really tired of saying enjoy it while we got it, because clearly they are counting on that. Because then after this, they're going to say, well, we had the World Cup. We had the World Cup. Just watch. Guarantee that's what's going to happen. When they're running for election, when Turd Ferguson is running for election 3 years from now, look what I did with the World Cup. I did it, even though the feds were more involved than they were. Katie Wilson, look what I did with the World Cup. I fell on my face while playing soccer, but look what I did with the World Cup. It was phenomenal. That's what they're teeing it up for. Up next, my friends, all these birthright citizenship discussions. On Capitol Hill today, a whole bunch of people whose kids were killed by illegal aliens showed up to confront Congress. And the one they were talking to the most, our very own Pramila Jayapal. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So today, we had angel parents up in Congress for congressional hearings on illegal immigration. Of all days when birthright citizenship comes out. Now, some really bad moments happened during this thing, and most of them were because of Representative Pramila Jayapal, our very own Democrat from Gaza. She claimed that sanctuary policies have actually saved lives, among many other ridiculous things that she said. Give a listen.
Unfortunately, this hearing is, it's the fourth time in this committee that we've had a hearing on sanctuary cities, the fourth time. And there's many other things that we could be doing other than this.
Stop. You're saying that while the angel families are in the room? The ones who lost their kids, lost their relatives because of your sanctuary policies? How about Trooper Christopher Gadd, Washington State Trooper, who's killed by an illegal alien, leaving behind a 2-year-old daughter and a young wife? How about him? What about his family? You know, there's better things we could be talking about. There's so many other ways we could be wasting people's money and bad policies we could be doing. Let's not talk about this. She doesn't want to face the consequences of her actions.
I would have loved to have had some hearings on the unconstitutionality of the president's executive order on eliminating birthright citizenship.
There we go. She just wanted to say that. That's why she did it.
This is something that the Supreme Court just ruled today in a 6-3 majority was unconstitutional. And yet this was an executive order that caused so much fear and trauma across the country.
How about the fear and trauma by people who lost their relatives because of sanctuary policies that you support?
We could have been discussing that, but we haven't. Instead, we have had this series of hearings that are designed to attack the very trust policies that research has shown over and over again have actually saved lives.
Excuse me, what? Are you claiming that sanctuary policies that have led to the deaths of hundreds, if not thousands of people save lives? Or how about the hundreds, if not thousands of people who have died while trying to make the trip into the United States? How about the people who got trafficked? How about the babies and the children who couldn't swim that were thrown into the Rio Grande by human traffickers and drug dealers to throw off the border agents who went to go save them so that they could get their product, whether it was person or drugs, across the border? What about the massive amount of drugs that have flooded our country because of the open borders that have affected almost every single family in some way here in the United States? You think your policies save lives? You kidding me with this?
And kept communities safer by maintaining.
Oh, shut up. Oh, shut up. You don't know what that how? Give me proof. I just brought the receipts. Tell me yours. What are you talking about, you raving lunatic? Oh, by the way, Representative Kazar, however he pronounces his name. You know, the guy who went on a fast for 8 hours and everybody applauded him to protest something stupid that nobody even remembers. You remember this guy? So he skipped breakfast one day. Bravo. Good on you. Good on you. Wow. Just so well done. Even after the Supreme Court's ruling, wasn't enough for somebody like him. By the way, this is the one upside to a bad court ruling. Can't claim it's Trump's court anymore after the rulings yesterday and today. Maybe, just maybe, the conservatives are strict constitutionalists and have their own interpretations of it. You can't claim they're in Trump's pocket. You can't claim they do whatever Trump says because he appointed them, like Amy Coney Barrett. Can't claim that. Even this is not enough for them. Even though they just won 2 big decisions, he still wants to pack the court.
But I wish I could stand before you today and say this ruling was only good news. But it is not. While we won the case today, we also got a grave warning about the future. What should have been a simple, unanimous, open and shut decision was dangerously close. Clarence Thomas.
I'm sorry, hang on a second. 6'3" is dangerously close. Okay, 5'4", dangerously close. All right, maybe. Well, a lot of these decisions, not that dangerously close. What are you talking about, dude?
Neil Gorsuch, Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh failed to recognize the fundamental constitutional right to birthright citizenship.
Dude, I don't think you listened to my show or actually read any of the decisions. I think you're just mad because you don't like it. Shame.
3 of those 4
Shame.
justices would have allowed Donald Trump to rewrite the Constitution and overrule Congress with an executive order. These 4 men, so blinded by partisanship and extremism, that they act like they can't see the words in the Constitution.
Actually, they can. Have you read it?
They can certainly read, but they are not following their oath to protect the Constitution and the right.
Oh, give me a break. You say this is one of the people supporting open borders, defunding the police. How many crazy... You sort of uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. You're letting foreign invaders in. Also, last time I checked, you're also advocating on behalf of terrorist organizations and a whole bunch of other stuff. You've got a shady background, dude. You really shouldn't be doing this. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Craig in Puyallup. Craig, what's up, man?
I'm going back a few minutes here, talking about how great Seattle looks for all the soccer fans or football fans. Historically, there's the thing called I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Potemkin Village in Russia and the Soviet Union, where it's a facade. Everybody's happy. You have to, put up a false front.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like a great building. You put in fake fruit in the windows, and people drive down the road, and it's like a hey, at 30 feet, this is flipping awesome, because you can't really smell it and you can't see it up close. And if you walk behind that, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. It's like, whoa, what is going on back here? But no, you don't get to see that part. And hey, I'm happy for the people that had a great time here and everything, and that's cool. But I feel like we're getting cheated. It's like, hey, everybody, we were, I don't, that's cheaping it. I want to say concentration camp when the people went through and said, oh, the Red Cross said it's great. No, it's not.
Well, actually, there was one camp that was actually used for that, to say, oh, this one's great.
Well, I read about it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I will say this, is that, we don't even have to go to Potemkin. We don't even have to go to Germany. We don't have to go to anywhere else. You know what we could say? What about all those fake cities that Boeing built on top of the factories? So the reconnaissance planes.
A deep dive. Well done. Yes.
Exactly. Flying over them. And it's a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood.
Everything's fine. There's nothing to see here. Keep going.
You know what's great about that? If you look in the backgrounds of the pictures of the people in the parade, of the Pride Parade, don't look at the pictures themselves. Look in the background. You see all the empty storefronts. They're just covered over with all that pro-Seattle advertising. So you don't realize they're empty storefronts. It is more a Potemkin village than I think anybody realizes. Craig, great historical reference. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, more of your calls, more of your texts. Plus, also, the Democrats have released their party platform. It includes reparations, even though we were always a free state. Give you all details about what they're doing with your tax money when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. 2 weeks ago, the Democrats had their big convention where they vote on a party platform and such. Well, we've been waiting for that platform to come out, and we'll have more of it throughout the show. But one thing that caught my attention was this email that went out from the Washington State Democrats, which was forwarded to me because they've taken me off their list so many times, and Shasti Conrad has blocked me, that now I have to wait to get these things forwarded from audience members because otherwise we're not going to see them. Here we go. On Juneteenth weekend, it's a weekend now? Do we get a day to go to the mall and go see the latest Marvel movie? Is it a week? Am I unaware of this? Did I know this was a thing? I didn't know this was a thing. Juneteenth weekend. Woo! Let's go. All right.
I'd advise you not to go see the latest Marvel movie or the latest DC movie, as a matter of fact, or the latest Star Wars movie.
Don't go see any of those.
Don't go see any of them.
Don't go see any movies. Don't go see movies. You know what? Go outside and touch some grass. Go talk to some people. Anyway. For Juneteenth weekend, Washington Democrats gathered in Spokane, Washington for the Democratic Party convention. The weekend began with a Juneteenth celebration of black excellence and ended with a unanimous vote of more than 1,000 participating delegates publicly adopting reparations for chattel slavery into the state party platform. Hang on a second. I want to look up some historical stuff here. Let's just go back and check this out for a second. What year did Washington become a state? Well, it became the 42nd state on November 11th, 1889. When did slavery end in the United States? January 1st, 1863 was the Emancipation Proclamation. December 6, 1865 was the 13th Amendment. So that's 20 plus years before Washington even became a state. Were there any slaves in Washington? Well, apparently the Hudson Bay Company, back then, was using slaves, but that was down in Oregon. When Washington became a state in 1889, its constitution prohibited slavery. And the 13th Amendment had already abolished slavery nationwide. What are we doing here? Oh, it's more of those reparations programs so we could do fraud like we found out so far. Yeah, that's what it is. Lots more of the fraud in Washington State when we come back, my friends. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, you can never be progressive enough for the left. Jamie Peterson is having electoral problems. But before we get to any of that, my friends, we have your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. That's right, my friends. This week, you have the opportunity to go to South Dakota, where you can see Mount Rushmore and the beautiful sights that are out there. It's still on my bucket list. I haven't been there. I know. I'll go out there when they put Trump up there. That's what I'll go out for. It'll be a whole trip for the family. We'll all go out there together. It will be a lot of fun. Anyway, you can get the trip to South Dakota to see Mount Rushmore, or you can win $3,000 in cold, hard cash. That's right, my friends. I'd like to thank our in-house Pink Floyd cover band for showing up today, making sure that we have the right mood music for you to have your chance to win these fantabulous prizes. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text your phone number. Do not text the word 10 times. Just one time. One time for your chance to win. Today's word is trail. As in, if you're going to go hike on Mount Rushmore, you take a trail. As in, if you're going to hike anywhere else, you take a trail. Trail. That's the word trail. Text it to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. And don't worry, while I am in D.C. this week, I will make sure you have the word every single day for your chance to win. That's right, my friends. I will make sure that we have that. Switching gears for a minute here, we're all mad about one Supreme Court decision, but another Supreme Court decision is huge and good news. But it's not the good news you think it is. There's a little bit more work to do. This was half the battle. Knowing is half the battle, and knowing what is still left to be done is half the battle. So, the U.S. Supreme Court put out its big ruling today that, yes, states do have the authority to say boys cannot play in girls' sports. I know, shock. I cannot believe that in 2026, we have to have discussions about what's a boy and what's a girl. Those naked dudes with their you-know-what's hanging out at the Seattle Center don't seem that confused. They just seem like they like to wander around with it all hanging out. By the way, how is that comfortable? Running all over the place with that? There's got to be some major chafing, some other things. It's just, you know what? I'm not even going into that. He's reaching for the headphones. I think the human body was well designed to be walked around with no issues if you're naked. If you're naked?
Yeah.
Well, they were near the fountain, so I think that would cure some of them issues while they're over. Whatever. All right, I don't think it was meant for everybody to see that on display. Anywho, Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the 6-3 decision. He wrote the court's opinion, holding that Title IX permits sex-separated athletic teams based on biological sex, and that West Virginia and Idaho did not violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment by maintaining female sports teams for biological females. So that means a state can do this. Now, let's be clear. This does not ban boys from competing in girls' sports nationwide. It just means that if Washingtonians do the right thing and vote the right way on the initiative in November to keep boys out of girls' sports, then that means, guess what? There's no constitutional problem with it. And the Washington State Supreme Court is going to have a really hard time claiming that there is. Really hard time. The Supreme Court held Title IX permits sex-separated athletic teams based on biological sex. States have a legitimate interest in preserving fair competition and athletic opportunities for women and girls. Now, you did have Justice Sonia Sotomayor, joined by Justices Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson, filing an opinion which concurred in part of the judgment and dissenting in part. The three justices agreed that Title IX claims should have this, but only on a narrower grounds that the majority adopted. They dissented from the court's conclusion that the laws satisfy the Equal Protection Clause. Well, you're wrong, so we'll just move on from there. However, Jackson's dissent, she wrote, there is reason to doubt the soundness of the concession that Title IX's reference to sex means only sex assigned at birth. Hang on, now you're a biologist? Now you know what sex assigned at birth? Now you're a biologist. Now you're the expert in it. She argued, a transgender woman... No, there is no such thing. It is a dude. Look, when a dog is castrated, do you say him or her? What do you say when you castrate your dog? When you neuter your dog or whatever it is that you call whatever they do, spade the dog. Whatever it is that you do to the dog, what do you call? Do you say, this is my dog Lucky, it's a boy. This is my dog Spot, it's a girl, whatever. It's still the boy, it's still the girl. You didn't change their DNA. They say, she wrote, a transgender woman penalized for being perceived as aggressive has experienced discrimination on the basis of sex, just as much as a cis... What does this mean? What does this mean? Man, woman, boy, girl. There's 4 genders. See? Man, woman, boy, girl. There we go. There's 4. I'll give you 4. I'll give you 5. The people who are born with extra equipment by no fault of their own. That's your 5. Okay. That's as woke as I am willing to go on this. That's about it. This is nonsensical woke speak that she's saying here. So we're just going to move past that. We're going to move on to Justice Clarence Thomas, who wrote, it's a chef's kiss. It really is. It's a masterpiece, concurring opinion. He wrote, men and boys with gender dysphoria are not women or girls, even if they believe that they are. See, 4 genders. Man, woman, boy, girl. 4 genders. We'll give you those. He added, sex is an immutable biological characteristic. It is binary. Man and woman, boy and girl are the terms that correspond to adults and children of each sex. He argued the court should be even more explicit that biological sex, not gender identity, is the relevant legal distinction under Title IX. The majority held sex means biological sex for purposes of school athletics. Schools may separate athletic teams based on biological sex. States may protect competitive fairness and opportunities for girls and women by limiting female sports to biological females. What does this mean for Washington State? We have IL 26638. That is the initiative that's going to be on the ballot from our friends at Let's Go Washington to keep boys out of girls' sports. Now, opponents of this have argued that these laws violate Title IX and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. That is out the window now. You can't claim that. It'll be fun to watch the Washington State Supreme Court try to jump through hoops to shoot this thing down afterwards, after what the U.S. Supreme Court did. I'm not sure they actually can. So, what does this mean? A lot of people are going to say, the Supreme Court ruled, why do we need to vote? Because while they gave the states authority to keep boys out of girls' sports, the states still have to keep the boys out of the girls' sports. If they don't keep the boys out of the girls' sports, then you have a problem. Then you have the same issue that a lot of these other states do, where they haven't enacted these laws. And if you don't enact these laws, you still have the boys competing in the girls' sports. So it's up to you. And also, here's something else. I know what I'm going to hear from now till tomorrow. From now till the election and past the election, what do you mean, Ari? The Supreme Court ruled it. Turd Ferguson doesn't get to do it. I'll be like, I love that you listen to the show because you call him Turd Ferguson. But perhaps you missed the part where we have to enact the laws that our state is now allowed to implement, whereas beforehand, there was a question of whether or not they were, even though it was a kind of dumb question. You still have to vote, and you still have to tell your friends. And now, I would actually argue this is a bit of a disadvantage because now you have a problem. So many people are going to think it's settled law. It's settled law. In fact, if I was a Democrat strategist, I would campaign against this going, it's settled law. Watch, they're going to start doing that. They're going to start running ads. It's settled law. It's the U.S. Supreme Court ruled this way. You don't have to vote for it. Why are we voting for it again? Why are we doing this? Watch. Just watch. I know how they think. I know it. I know how they think. Like these lefty crazies. You guys see that Jamie Peterson is in a lot of trouble right now? State Senator Jamie Peterson, the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats, Jamie Peterson has never found a woke topic or something far left that he didn't like. Let's go back in time to one of his first doozies on this topic.
Young women have, if they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make their own decisions about what happens with their bodies, okay? And parents do not have the right to change that or make a different decision or be notified in advance.
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a doozy there. That's Senator Jamie Peterson, the guy behind the income tax and so much other woke stupidity. This is the guy who says the wealthy won't leave because of the income tax after Howard Schultz, Jeff Bezos, Starbucks, and many other people and many other companies had already left. Here's what he says.
With the millionaire's tax, by contrast, the top marginal rate, 9.9%, that is not out of line with a large number of the 41 other states that have some form of a personal income tax. I'll say in addition that you have to have quite a bit of money before you're even doing better in Idaho than you would do in Washington. You know, if you think about with the $1 million deduction on which there's a 0% rate, you have to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.9 million of income per year or more before you would do better in Washington than with Idaho's flat 4.4% rate. I don't think that there's going to be any significant change in taxpayer location as a result of the passage of the tax.
Okay, that's what he said before it. Correction, that's what he said beforehand. This is what he said after everybody moved.
It shows internal emails between you and the state attorney general's office. And the reason why the necessity...
Wait a second. Before we get to Hannah Kim, this is what he said afterwards.
You're saying that millionaires and business leaders are not leaving because of this and that they won't.
I don't have any evidence that millionaires or business leaders are leaving as a result of this tax.
He said that after Bezos, after Schultz, after Starbucks. He said that to Hannah Kim on Fox 13. He literally said that. This is one of the most lefty members of the Democrat caucus in Washington state. And yet now he's in trouble because even Jamie Peterson isn't left enough for the far left. Socialist Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson over the weekend, a Democratic socialist, a communist, endorsed a primary challenger against Jamie Peterson, one of the most progressive Democrats, the one who just got them the income tax they've wanted all these years. According to the Washington State Standard, Wilson announced she is supporting Hannah Sabio Howell in the 43rd Legislative District race against Peterson. So wait a second. Can we just back this up a second? You have the majority. You have the majority leader. That's a lot of power. You can give him a call and get whatever you want for Seattle, and he will give it to you. And instead you go, let's primary him. Because this one's a real socialist. He's not a real socialist. He identifies as a Democrat. He doesn't identify as one of these America-hating types. He's not a Democrat socialist of America, even though he hates America. Let's get the spry out of the way. Let's put the young in. That's what it is. So you can never be far left enough for the far left. Now he's being challenged. Oh, by the way, my favorite, King County Democrats endorse the socialist, not him. 43rd District Democrats endorse the socialist, not him. You can never be far left enough for the far left. That's what's going on. Peterson has been in office since 2006. That's a lot of seniority. I will remind everybody that when everybody was getting all mad at different members of Congress who had seniority because they voted one way or another, but they were still Republicans, some people go, yeah, let's primary them. And some people go, you know what, guys, we really don't want to mess with the majority. Here are the Democrats. They don't have to worry about those things. They've got the majority. Peterson's not getting voted out by a Democrat. He has to worry about a challenge from his left. Is it going to come down to the socialist and Jamie Peterson? Because in that case, I'm screwed. I got nobody to vote for. What do you say we just do a write-in campaign for me? We'll do a write-in campaign for Ari Hoffman for that district. We'll do that. That is my district, right? Pretty sure it is. We'll double check. Sure. Let's say it is. Sure, we'll go with that for a second. Sure, that'll be my district. We'll do a write-in campaign for me because you have there is nobody I would vote for in that race if it's Peterson versus the other one and go, which is the less of two options? This is the problem with voting for the least evil of two options, is eventually the options completely suck. There is nothing I agree on with Jamie Peterson. And there's definitely nothing I agree with this, whatever her three-name person that's over there. Definitely nothing I agree with there. We're absolutely screwed. Completely screwed, but you can never be left enough for the far left. It's just like what happened with Scott Wiener out in California over the weekend. I didn't have Kevin pull this clip. Scott Wiener, the guy who dresses in leather in his spare time, and I don't mean, just the pants. I mean the really thin stuff that there's basically no clothing there. That guy with every fetish in the world who has pushed for insane policy. This guy's walking through one of the Pride events this weekend. They surround him, scream at him because he's Jewish. They yell and scream at him over Israel, even though this guy is so desperate to win Nancy Pelosi's congressional seat that he has backtracked on all his support for Israel completely. You can never be far left enough for the far left. They will come for you. Crazy stuff. We go to the KVI studio line. Take call from Gerald in Federal Way. Gerald, what's going on, man?
Yeah, when they look back in history as the origins of the Civil War in the 1800s to see what the spark was that started the fire, well, 100 years from now, they'll be looking back to see what the origins were of the Second Civil War. They'll be saying, well, it seems like when Chief Justice Roberts did the misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, things eventually got so bad when those born here but raised in foreign countries came back to take over the country with their un-American ways and ideologies. People just couldn't take it anymore, and there was an uprising of those that weren't already purged. I get the movie rights. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm thinking to myself, I kind of like our odds in the Civil War because we got all the guns, right?
So far.
Okay. So far. Why do you think they're trying to take them away? What are they doing with them? Yeah, no, I agree. This is the problem, is that how can you have a country of people who want to overthrow the country? It's one thing to say, hey, we believe in more welfare, or we believe in less money for defense. It's another thing to say, no defense, all welfare. It's another thing to say, no borders, all fraud. I completely agree with you, Gerald. Movie rights. I'll tell you what, if I get to star in the movie as the guy who says, I told you so, you can have the movie rights.
Okay, that sounds good. In the meantime, fight.
There we go. That's a good deal. Take care, Gerald. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Also last night, had an opportunity to read through the challenge which the U.S. Supreme Court has accepted on Washington State's controversial Senate Bill 5599. That's the one that allows kids to run away from home to get gender-affirming care or abortions here in Washington, and the state will not just pay for them, but shield them and hide them from their parents, which is by far one of the most insane ones. This has not gotten a lot of traction in the national media because I don't think a lot of people know what Senate Bill 5599 is. I think so few people actually know what this thing is that and plus, it's not being ruled on until next session. It's not being ruled on until next year. Supreme Court, done, finito, finished for this year. So this is going to crop up next year. I don't think people realize how insane this bill actually is. Now, I was kind of curious in reading through this thing about who the plaintiffs actually were. For a case like this, you need to know who the plaintiffs are. You need to have somebody who was harmed by this. And the stories here. One family alleges their daughter began identifying as a boy while attending a Washington public school. According to the complaint, school staff encouraged her social transition without informing her parents. After discovering what had happened, the parents withdrew her from the school, but say Senate Bill 5599 left them fearing she would now run away to a state shelter and continue transitioning in secret. And the same family said they now hesitate to discipline their daughter because they fear conflict could prompt her to run away where Washington law could keep her location secret while facilitating her gender transition services. By the way, the state will actually treat this. If you tell your kid you don't want them getting those services, they treat it like child abuse. Another family alleges their 18-year-old daughter threatened to take her 13-year-old sister to a safe place where the younger child's transgender identity would be affirmed. This is what's happening in the public schools, by the way. Parents say they no longer discuss gender. They avoid using their daughter's birth name, avoid using the pronouns, avoid discussing gender at all. Another plaintiff family alleges a friend's family encouraged their child to run away because the parents would not affirm the child's transgender identity. This one here, where we literally had one plaintiff say the child had run away before because of this. Children called the parents transphobic and threatened to report them to the authorities. Several children had already been transitioned. This This is the insanity that is happening. And when the rest of the country finds out about it, I don't think they're going to take too well to the Washington insanity. Question is, how's the Supreme Court going to rule on this one if the if the keeping women out of girls' sports, man, I need more water today. If keeping boys out of girls' sports ruling is an indication, I think that 5599 is going to be shot down next year, and we can only hope it does. But then again, don't count your Supreme Court justices before they rule, because too many times we've been fooled before. Remember when everybody said birthright citizenship, open, shut, election day, open, shut. Yeah, it never is till they actually rule, my friends. Just keep that in mind. Up next, my friends, absolute insanity out of Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show, my friends. Now is a good time to remind everybody that tomorrow, assuming my plane is on time and I land on time and I'm not delayed, please God, please God, please God, we are going to be broadcasting from Washington, D.C. Let me tell you a little bit about this trip because I'm really, really excited. So tomorrow, we're going to be in the Cannon Building. The Cannon Building is where Congress has their offices. And assuming there's no hiccups in the schedule, we got Michael Baumgartner coming on. We got Dan Newhouse coming on. We got Jim Jordan coming on. Might have Byron Donalds coming on. Might have Randy Fine coming on. We got a whole bunch of awesome Congress people. We got Adam Smith. We're going to Adam Smith's office, by the way, because we're going to be bipartisan. And he was very nice to invite us to his office, by the way. We're going all over Congress tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. After that's done, there is a press conference. Kevin, I kid you not, there's a press conference about CARE being held by a bunch of congressional people that I love because they're all investigating this. I'm going to that press conference. I'm going to have a great time at that press conference. I'm very, very excited for this. Thursday, going to the Great American Fair, and I hear the Washington State booth is unoccupied. So I think we might have to occupy it. I think we might have to go there. I am taking with me KVI constitutions and KVI American flags. I'm taking them with me for the kids. For the kids. Congressman Baumgartner made them say go Seahawks if they wanted the stamp on their little passport at the Washington State Fair. I think I'm going to make them recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we'll do that. Maybe we'll do, okay, well, that's a lot for a kid to do and stand there and do that for free stuff. So maybe we'll tone it back a little bit. But yeah, we'll give the kids some constitutions. We'll give them some flags. It'll be great. But hang on. You got to keep a secret from me. If the Democrats find out about this, they're going to send somebody to occupy the booth before I even get there. So maybe mentioning it on the radio wasn't the best idea.
I'm telling you, we already got a call from somebody saying that they wanted to join you. So if you don't show up, there's somebody else out there who's probably going to be putting some stuff in the booth as well.
If I get there and somebody else has already occupied the booth, as long as they're like doing the right thing out there and not the wrong thing out there, I'll be thrilled. I will be thrilled. Won't be as good for social media, but sure.
Like I said yesterday, if they really want to represent Washington, you got to throw a couple of tents up. Got some, drug paraphernalia, syringes.
I'll tell you what.
Used condoms floating around.
I don't know if I could sneak that kind of stuff in, but I mean, the tent they'd probably be worried about too. It depends how small I can get that tent to fit in there.
Right,
that's right. Like how much can I get a condensed one? Also, is there a store that sells tents? Because I ain't hauling that on the plane. If there is a store near the Airbnb I am staying in, I will take that with me over there to the pavilion. We'll go check it out.
Maybe get one of the unsheltered neighbors here down the street here. Say, hey, I got a ticket for you. All you got to do is hang out in this. In this booth.
Wait a second. Kevin, I got a better idea. I got such a better idea. Okay, no, we're thinking all wrong about this. Here's what we should do. We should do what we do in the booth, but I should take a picture of the empty booth before we set up in it or after we clean up everything from it. And then we should Photoshop in what Seattle would be showcasing. They don't have to spend any of this money, and they don't have to pay for some homeless guy who's on fentanyl to come with me on a plane, right?
Yeah.
They'll let him on. Who knows? They don't care about ID, right?
But who knows what sort of friendship that could create.
Yes. Let's just go those guys right there out behind the parking lot. Hey, guys, who wants to go to D.C. tonight? I'll probably get shivved or something if I did that. Anyway, Washington State Democrats' party platform, according to intrepid reporter Jessica Russack-Hoffman over at the Jewish News Syndicate, the Washington State Democrat Party's finalized platform blames the Israeli government for the rise in Jew hatred and includes a lengthy section on Palestinian rights that calls for an end to occupation, according to a copy of the document. The final platform committee report, which was finalized at their convention 2 weeks ago, states that there has been a dramatic resurgence in anti-Semitism in recent years on all sides of the political spectrum. Not really. But they say due in part to actions taken by the Israeli government. How dare you get attacked by the worst pogrom since the Holocaust? How dare you? It's your fault we don't like Jews. You Jews, it is your fault we don't like you and we hate you so much. Can you stop being so Jewy? Can you stop that? Maybe not with the things on the head a little bit. Maybe, can you just forget the idea of a Jewish homeland? Please, pretty please. Quote, history shows us the dangerous repercussions suffered when collective action to combat anti-Semitism and promote understanding is not taken. Okay. We must ensure that the Jewish community is protected from misinformation, harassment, and violence. Oh, cool. You going to start with Pramila Jayapal? She was at your convention. Can we start with her? She's the one who says Israel's a racist state. Can we start with her? Jim Walsh, chair of the Washington State Republican Party, told JNS that blaming Israel for the rise in anti-Semitism on the political left and the Democrat Party is specifically classic narcissistic behavior. He says, quote, it's what abusive husbands do to battered wives. It's weak and shameful. Yes, Jim Walsh, he is 100% right. More important to normal people, it's false. Under a section on foreign policy, the platform states we recognize Israeli and Palestinian civilians should have security, recognition of life free from terror, violence, corruption, incitement, and collective punishment. Okay, aren't you giving them collective punishment by blaming the Israeli government for the actions of that triggering anti-Semitism? In its call for a diplomatic solution, the party accuses the Jewish state of mass civilian casualties, been debunked by the UN, destruction, displacement, and starvation. You know, I'm tired of this. Have you seen the videos from social media influencers in Gaza? Those people look pretty plump. You know, the people after the Holocaust didn't immediately look plump once the Holocaust was over. They had to be put in hospitals and such for sometimes months, if not years, to be fixed from what they went through. An entire section called Palestinian Rights lists 10 demands, including a call for an end to the Israeli military occupation, settlement expansion, home demolitions. Okay, so you don't like that they're building in the Jewish homeland. You don't want them in the Jewish homeland. You don't want them demolishing the homes of terrorists. So you don't want Israel to exist. Is that what it is? It also insists on the removal of checkpoints, no borders. Well, that checks with the Democrat Party. Restoration of electricity, clean water. Okay. Who took the pipes and turned them into rockets? That would be Hamas. You got a problem? Take it up with Hamas. Here's another thing. Does the Washington State Democratic Party control foreign policy for the U.S. government? No. But this is the barometer by which they are grading all their candidates. And you know whose party platform this is? The Democratic Socialists of America. That's what this is. They are following their party platform and institutionalizing it inside the Democrat Party platform. If you think this section is nuts, you should read the whole document. I think every day I should just come out with an article at kvi.com, Insanity from the Washington State Democrat Party platform, part 1, part 2, part 3. Should we look up their gender stuff next? Should we do that? If I ever want to know how crazy something is I just do a Control F and I just type in Israel or Jews or Palestine. And you can tell just from that how crazy a document is going to be. Hey, you know what, Kevin? I got a long flight tonight. I'm not real good at sleeping on planes. I think I know what my homework assignment is going to be. If I sound really, really hyper on the show tomorrow, it's because I had far too many cups of coffee, going on no sleep, heading to the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Promise you that. If I sound a little too hyped up, that's probably why. If I sound a little quieter than usual, that means somebody's next door to me. We'll see what kind of room we get when we get there. I hear it's one of the nice ones. They said it was one of the nice ones. I'm very, very excited about this. Very, very happy about this. Up next, my friends, when the right gets it wrong, the right is celebrating one of the SCOTUS rulings, and I'm not sure they should be. Always got to wonder what your worst enemy would do with this kind of power. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Conservatives are celebrating this ruling from the Supreme Court. And while it might be legal because I trust the people who wrote it, I think you guys should not be celebrating this thing. In a 6-3 decision on Tuesday, the Supreme Court struck down a federal law that set limits on how much money political parties could spend in coordination with a political office candidate. The court ruled that the coordinated expenditure limits set by the Federal Election Campaign Act violates the First Amendment, overruled a 2001 decision from the court that upheld the limits. Now, mind you, I'm agreeing with the ruling, but I think this is a really bad idea to bring this case. You want to spend more money in elections, guys? I understand money is free speech. I get all that. But I'm not sure this is the way you want it to be. The case was first launched in 2022 with the National Republican Senatorial Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee, then candidate for Senate J.D. Vance, and then Representative Stephen Chaba, suing the Federal Election Commission and its commissioners. According to the Post Millennial, they claim that the political party coordinated expenditure limits violate the First Amendment. Plaintiffs argued that the political parties possess a First Amendment right to spend money as they see fit on political advertising and other campaign activities, and do so in coordination with the party's candidates. Now, I'm not disagreeing with the ruling, but we know about money in politics for a minute here, and now imagine it with no limits whatsoever. One, Mary in Seattle sent us this article earlier in the show from the New York Post talking about George Soros has put record money into this election. I'm going to read for you a little smidgen here from the New York Post. The family's grant network, this is a Soros family, has denied it's a terrorist organization, insisting its mission is to strengthen democracy. Really? Then why are you backing all the crazies? Just like his progeny, the Soros patriarch also gave a maximum contribution to Graham Plattner. And both father and son, they mean George and Alex Soros, handed $7,000 each to Representative Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Gaza, who last month admitted to sneaking oil into Cuba despite the U.S. blockade. By the way, if you think, oh, Pramila Jayapal, she's just a Democrat. She's not a Democrat socialist. Yeah, get a load of what she said on CNN. Just listen to this for a second.
Our colleagues over at K-File found that one of the candidates who won in New York last week, Daria Liza Avia Chevalier, she's running in New York 13, I believe. Yeah. She repeated sympathetic references to communism, Marxist ideology, Soviet figures like Vladimir Lenin. Do you believe that complicates the argument in favor of these candidates who are Democratic Socialists?
I think Daria Liza Avila Chevalier ran a campaign that convinced the voters of her district that she would stand up and fight for them. Whatever labels you want to attach to it, whatever she said, I believe that we've got to understand that Big Tent means Big Tent, and voters have to be respected. And so are there going to be disagreements about language she may have used? And I'm not sure when that language was used. The campaign that I saw was very much about what working people want.
Workers of the world unite, you might say. Just like Del Bene, just like Hakeem Jeffries, just like everybody else. We're a big tent. We got all the room in the world in our big tent for communism. She's making excuses for communism. You know, there was this Cuban man the other day who was reacting to Pramila Jayapal. This guy was all over social media when he heard her talking about how great Cuba's healthcare is. Listen to the way he describes it.
Do you see that the congresswoman, I can't remember her name, some congresswoman said that Cuba's healthcare system was better than the U.S.?
That's the Congress's woman?
Yeah, she says that Cuba's healthcare system is better than the U.S.
What is wrong with that, people? In Cuba, we don't have medicine like here. We don't have pharmacy like here. In Cuba, my mom asking me for medicine, buy here and send it to Cuba. The hospital in Cuba, they don't have a lounge for kids. They don't have bedsheet. They don't have toilet. One toilet for 5 people.
They never clean it.
No, cleaning. No, 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 no. Cleaning? No. That's worse.
And what do you say to people that think it's the embargo?
Oh, that's funny.
So let's take Pramila Jayapal living in her Seattle mansion. Oh, Cuba's healthcare system is so much better than ours. They don't have toilets. They don't have bed sheets. But Cuba's healthcare system, so much better than ours. So Hakeem Jeffries really isn't liking these questions about all these socialists taking over his party. Had a little bit of a meltdown yesterday during a press conference.
There seems to be growing concern within the New York delegation that your endorsement doesn't hold the weight that it once did, that the mayors may perhaps carry more. Do you feel that's fair?
Who in the New York delegation has articulated that, since you're referencing growing
on
concern?
background, so just as I would not...
So you don't have a name?
Well, I'm going to extend them the same courtesy that I would everybody else, but this question is about you.
Yeah. Well, you asked me a question making reference to particular members, but then you didn't cite a member.
Right, because they're conversations on background, but what is your response to that?
I don't have a response to that, actually, because I think that it's, something that has not come up in any of the conversations that we've had.
Oh, yeah, nobody's telling it to your face, dude. Yeah, I don't think Timo Obama's endorsement carries the same weight it used to. In fact, you know who he's blaming for the socialist takeover? Donald Trump. So because he can't control his own caucus and because nobody cares what he says and because they want to vote him out of office, he's blaming Donald Trump?
Can you set expectations for tomorrow's races in Colorado, particularly CD1 with Diana DeGette? Do you believe she's capable of winning? And what does it say that her race is very close in terms of, this challenge against incumbents by Democratic Socialists?
It's a close race, and we'll see what happens. Ultimately, it'll be in the hands of the people of Denver. But the reality is we have an unsettled electoral environment, which is going to be the case when Donald Trump is president.
Yeah, an unsettled environment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we don't have politics when Donald Trump's not president. That's when it's happy-go-lucky for everybody. Democrats and Republicans living together. That's what it's going to be. Give me a break. Even CNN is calling out that leadership of the Democrats is in trouble. Chuck Schumer's not faring much better. Give a listen.
Right, how's he doing among Democrats in New York, his home state?
Yeah, you think that this number is bad. What about here in his home state of New York? I tell you, these numbers scream primary challenge 2 years from now. Look at this. Okay, New York Dems, who view Chuck Schumer favorably. Again, in early 2020, it was 75%, 3 in 4 Democrats. Now it is less than half. Less than half of Democrats in Chuck Schumer's home state of New York, 47% who view him favorably. This is part of a larger picture in which Democrats are turning against their leadership. They are specifically turning against Chuck Schumer. He is actually underwater nationally with Democrats, and even in his own home state of New York, the Empire State, he can't even reach 50% favorable rating with Democrats.
Now, it's because he's not running for Democrats anymore. It's the Democrat Socialists of America. You want to know what they want? This is their top leader, David Jenkins, who was on a Zoom call the other day, saying very, very clearly what they want for this country. It ain't socialism.
I mean, our goal is liberation. Our goal is communism.
I'm sorry. Wait, hang on. That doesn't sound like socialism to me, does it now?
I mean, our goal is liberation. Our goal is communism.
That's the head of the DSA. That's one of the heads of the DSA. When your enemies tell you who they are, believe them, my friends. Up next, California's real mad at the Department of Housing and Urban Development because they cut off the funding for Homeless Inc., and now they're suing to get their money back. We know how this is going to shake out. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority filed a lawsuit yesterday against the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development after the Trump administration moved to suspend federal homelessness funding for the Los Angeles region. Now, we know that there's a ton of corruption. We know that Homeless Inc. is a problem. We know all of this. But now Los Angeles is like, wait, we got to keep the grift going. And the Trump administration took away all our money. What are we supposed to do now? So we're going to sue him. Not, maybe figure out where the problems are. Not say, hey, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, what if we reform? What if we clean this thing up? Can we still help homeless people? No, you got to keep your buddies getting their six-figure salaries. Homeless Inc. in LA's legal action seeks to block any interruption of federal resources that the agency say currently support housing and services of more than 11,000 people across Los Angeles County. The lawsuit comes after HUD notified LAHSA on June 11th that it intended to suspend federal continuum of care funding administered by the agency. HUD has accused LAHSA of repeated false statements, financial mismanagement, weak internal controls, and failures to maintain safeguards against conflicts of interest. In fact, I think when I saw all this, I emailed HUD, because we've had Secretary Turner on the show a few times, and I said, hey, you think that's something? Want to see it way worse? Want to see it way, way worse? Let me show you Seattle, Washington. Let me show you King County. Yep, definitely sent them that email. And my favorite part about it? I didn't send them my reporting on it. I augmented it with my reporting. I sent them their own internal audits. Maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh. The federal suspension notice stated that LAHSA received more than $220 million in 2024 and $944 million since 2021, and yet the homeless problem has only gotten worse. LAHSA is now arguing that HUD's action is legally and factually unjustified, would jeopardize housing stability for thousands of formerly homeless residents. Quote, we are taking this step to protect formerly unhoused people who found a permanent home. Oh, really? Really? How many people did you transition out of homelessness? And if anybody believes that, there is a ferry out there on the bay right now going past a cargo vessel, a sailing ship, and a barge. I will give you a 4-for-1 deal right now on all 4 of them. 4-for-1 deal. You buy the ferry, and I don't think that's one of the new ones. If you buy the ferry, I will throw in the cargo ship. It's empty, though. There's no cargo on the cargo ship. The sailing boat and the tugboat. I'll throw that all in. Oh, you know what? I'll even throw in that barge for the World Cup. When the World Cup's over, I have the authority to sell the barge with the soccer field on it. So you can have the soccer field barge, the cargo ship, the sailing boat, and the tugboat for the price of one Washington State ferry. I'll cut you the low, low price of, I don't know, Kevin, I need some traveling money for D.C. this weekend. What are we going to say? About $500 in cash? It should be okay. No, wait, hang on. I got to buy kosher dinner a few times. All right, for $1,000, I will sell you all 4 of those. You really think they've transitioned people out of homelessness? How come now in Los Angeles County, their own numbers say over 60,000 people? 60,000. Quote, the people who will be harmed by this decision are not bureaucrats. They are families. They are veterans. They are seniors. I'm doing this all wrong. Hang on. I need the right mood music for this. The people who will be harmed by this decision are not bureaucrats. They are families, veterans, seniors, and formerly homeless Angelinos who rely on these resources to remain housed. We must do everything in our power to ensure those funds continue reaching the people who rely on them. Oh, that's so touching. By the way, in this, they also claim their homelessness numbers went down. Yeah, no, they haven't. Well, actually, technically, they're not wrong. What have they been doing a lot of in California, especially Los Angeles? Anybody know? Ice, baby. Din, 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 din. So they've been rounding up a whole bunch of people there and getting them out of the country who are in Homeless Inc. So, of course, your numbers have gone down. We shouldn't be paying for the world's homeless anyway. HUD previously said the Los Angeles Continuum of Care, led by LAHSA, has received nearly $1 billion in taxpayer dollars over the last 5 years, while Los Angeles has remained the center of the nation's homelessness crisis. Federal officials also allege that LAHSA could not determine whether funding had been used to pay for empty hotel rooms, failed to provide documentation verifying nearly 2,300 housing sites, and did not have its own written conflict of interest policy until September 2025, despite certifying compliance with federal rules. Oh, because they were busy giving the money out to people. The suspension notice also cited conflict of interest concerns involving LA HSA's former CEO, who resigned after she and the agency allegedly violated federal rules by committing more than $2 billion in federal funds to her husband's employer. Uh-huh. Yeah, but they're really helping the homeless people. Is her husband's employer homeless? Maybe he's the one they transitioned out of homelessness? LAHSA disputed HUD's characterization, says the federal government's notification letter relied on inaccuracies and misrepresentations. What was inaccurate? What was misrepresented? What, he got more money than the millions of dollars, they say? Do you think this could happen in Seattle, too? Because here's the thing, HUD should be cutting off the King County Regional Homeless Authority after scandal, after scandal, after scandal. How many more do you guys need? We know what's going on with the homeless population around here. Our friend Andrea Suarez from We Heart Seattle interviewed a girl named Destiny. She's an 18-year-old who walks the streets of Seattle, lives downtown. Listen to what she said.
Hi, my name's Destiny, and we're in Belltown. I want to enjoy my day walking around, like enjoy the beautiful scenery, but a street you turn and there's these weirdos on the street that smoke fentanyl that people are just doing. They don't care. Like, there's kids out here and being like really disrespectful. One of them has a gun and they're like threatening me. Actually, like, people are always harassing me here, catcalling me here, trying to give me drugs. And yeah, I want to get them all arrested.
Okay, one thing about this video that you can't see. It was cut in a very interesting way. When she says the people want to give me drugs, some of the drug addicts are waving at her and Andrea Suarez in the video while they're saying that. Literally, while they're saying that, you see it in the video. Yeah, you need to audit and you need to cut off Homeless Inc. immediately. Final hour free-for-all coming up when we come back, plus latest on Supreme Court decisions. Some you'll like, some you'll hate. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories. Streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, big announcement during our good news segment at the end of the show. No, it's not about me going to D.C. Something new, something we haven't spoke about, and something I think you're very, very much going to enjoy. What you are not enjoying probably is a Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship. In a really terrible, awful, no good, very bad ruling, the majority of the court, 5-4, you had Justice John Roberts and you had Justice Amy Coney Barrett, Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, joining the liberal justices in upholding birthright citizenship. This was a bad decision. This was a very terrible decision. And I didn't really see a lot of the law it was based on being relevant. I know what they tried to do, but I don't like the decision at all. And I think that if we weren't in such a hyper-partisan political environment, it would be common sense that you wouldn't be trying to get illegal aliens to have kids in this country. Our friends at the Post-Millennial have tracked a lot of these companies that literally make profits off bringing people to the United States so that they can have kids here in this country. And then they can do chain migration. This is a huge, big problem. A big, big problem. And it didn't used to be one that we disagreed on. In fact, hang on a second, haven't used this sucker in a while. Can we fire up the DeLorean? Hop on in, power this sucker on, time circuits on. Can we head back to the 1990s, perhaps? Yeah, the music was better. Didn't have the cell phones everywhere. Bill Clinton was in office. You remember what he said during one of his State of the Union addresses?
Only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
Whoa. Hang on. Bill Clinton's still a Democrat, right? Bill Clinton was a Democrat? That could have been Trump saying that, except for the Southern accent. He's a Democrat, right? That was in the 90s. You know what? That's just one Democrat. Let's go back to 1993. Senator Dianne Feinstein. What did she say about illegal immigration?
Should you have a system where people can come to this country, even if they're well-to-do, get on Medicaid and give birth to a baby and then go back? The answer is no. And we know that Medicaid laws are being used and abused to do just this in the state of California. I'd like to see that stopped. About 13% of the California prison population, costing close to $300 million a year, are illegal aliens. I've had judges in Los Angeles and Orange County tell me 1/2 of their criminal dockets are illegal aliens. Presently, a convicted illegal alien has the option of serving their sentence in California or being returned to their country of origin. I think that option ought to be removed.
Yeah, Dianne Feinstein. She's a Oh, wait, hang on. She was a Democrat. Not sure what she was at the end there. I mean, not even sure she was conscious. She was pulling a Jimmy Carter at the end there after a very long career. But sounds to me like Democrats used to think this was a good idea. Wait, are you saying the Democrat Party is moving more and more and more to the left? Nah. Let's fast forward in time a little bit. What does Barack Obama have to say about this? Probably has a few things to say, right? Call up a few things that he used to say. Wonder what he was saying about illegal immigration?
The Bush administration has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. And so what we have to do is create a comprehensive solution to the problem. Now, I have already stated that as president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable. And when we do those things, I believe that we can take the undocumented workers, the illegal aliens who are here, get them out of the shadows, make sure that they are subject to a stiff penalty, make sure that they're learning English, make sure that they go to the back of the line so they're not getting an advantage over people who came here legally. And when we do that, I think that we can, instead of shedding all this heat, start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. That's what I intend to do as President of the United States.
I almost thought he said another word instead of shedding, didn't you?
Shedding
Did you think ever say? It sounded a little close to a different word, didn't it?
Speaking of sounding close, your Obama sounded very much like Bernie, too.
Did it sound like too much like Bernie?
Yeah, because, I mean, what's your other one that you've got, the other one that you do that sounds too close? I mean,
they all sound the same.
I guess they kind of do. But
all my impressions sound. My wife says that all my impressions sound like Mr. Burns, just different versions of Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. I mean, watch this for a second. Here we go. Ready?
Yep.
Smithers, who is that man? That's Homer Simpson, sir. Simpson, eh? Oh, remember that. Right, that's not bad.
Okay.
That's a good impression that I do, right? Gentlemen, right? It's pretty close to my Inslee impression. I'm not good at the impression.
Now go with your Obama again.
The Obama? Sometimes we're going to talk about illegal immigration.
Okay, now go Bernie.
Now Bernie? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I don't have to do the Bernie. It's the same thing. My impressions are terrible. My Trump impression is the worst one ever. Most people don't even know I'm doing it until I start doing hand gestures and seriously telegraphing that I'm doing the I'm really bad at impressions. Okay, we all know this, right? People tune in because they think they're funny, not because they think they're accurate. Yeah. Right?
They don't say why they're funny.
No, right. I mean, my impression of Inslee is based on a teacher that my wife used to have. It's really just an impression of that dude. In fact, it's an impression of a former student of mine doing an impression of that dude mixed with my Mr. Burns. People find it hysterical. I mean, my Gavin Newsom one, that one's all original. I just got to make my voice scratchier, you know? Like, I'm going to be president. It's going to be awesome. Going to have a lot of fun being president. Auntie Nancy said I get to be president. Like, people like that one, but I can't do that one for too long. Hurts the throat a little bit too much. Now, meanwhile, now that we're done talking about what the Democrats say, this was Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas said this back in April before this decision came out. Clear, concise on the illegal immigration issue. Give a listen.
I think if we don't stand up and take ownership of our country and take responsible for it, we are slowly letting others control how we think and what we think. I think the beauty of going to school is that you learn how to think for yourselves. You develop the discipline to think things through. If you think it's losing confidence, then you get up and you participate. You don't sit on the sidelines. You think that the state is being run and inconsistent with how you feel, then you get up and you participate. You prepare yourself. If you think that the medical profession is not right, well, you become a doctor or be a medical person, and you deal with that. I think we need to take ownership of our country. It's our country.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Now, he got pretty ticked at the majority opinion, aside from what he wrote in his minority dissent, which is excellent. Excellent, by the way. 91 pages. 91 pages, citing all kinds of case law that Ketanji Brown Jackson has probably never even read. It was a masterpiece. But here's what he said in response to this ruling.
Progressivism seeks to replace the basic premises of the Declaration of Independence, and hence our form of government. It holds that our rights and our dignities come not from God, but from government. It requires of the people a subservience and weakness incompatible with a constitution premised on the transcendent origin of our rights.
He used bigger words than I usually use, but he's 100% right. He's 100% right. And by the way, this is crazy to me, the fact that Democrats are still calling to pack the Supreme Court, even though it ruled in their favor on birthright citizenship.
To protect the rights of all citizens. And the way we do that is reining in this hyper-partisan Supreme Court. It's time to have a Supreme Court that is for the people and not just for their big donors.
Last time I checked, this is your issue, but you're not happy enough. You're not going to be happy until you get a 9-0 decision on every single political item you guys want, right? That's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you're talking about. That's what the Democrats want. That's what they want to do. Guaranteed. Literally, they're saying that the same day they get a decision like this. Now, mind you, if you are mad about the decision, which is knocking down President Trump's executive order and keeping birthright citizenship, then you know who you should be mad at? Not the Supreme Court. You should be mad at Congress. We have the White House. We, by that I mean Republican types. We have the White House, we have the House of Representatives, and we have the Senate. If you guys want to do something about it, codify it. Put it into law. Make a law about it. And then guess what? You won't have these problems anymore. The problem is everybody runs on these issues, and they never actually do anything about it. Democrat or Republican, when they actually take office, they don't solve these issues. We shouldn't be making law from the bench. Their job is to interpret the law, not make the law. Well, now we've got some fun happening in Congress. So, according to the Post-Millennial, the Republican Party has introduced new legislation aimed at tightening eligibility for federally backed home loans, restricting access to U.S. citizens only. Under the new legislation introduced by Representative Brandon Gill, non-citizens and illegal aliens would be barred from accessing taxpayer-funded mortgage programs. The Home Ownership Eligibility Reform Act would also prohibit government-sponsored mortgage giants like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac from purchasing or securing loans made to undocumented immigrants. Gill says the legislation restores the purpose of federal housing support. Quote, "The sole purpose of our housing programs is to help Americans build wealth and achieve the American dream. Illegal immigration is making that impossible. Under current federal policy, DACA recipients, asylum seekers, and certain non-permanent residents can be eligible for federal loans. A 2025 Housing and Urban Development rule narrowed this access, which has been expanded under the Biden administration. Democrats, including Juan Vargas and Sylvia Garcia, previously introduced the Housing Stability for Dreamers Act, which sought to preserve mortgage eligibility for DACA recipients under federal housing programs. Gill is seeking to codify a strict citizenship requirement for access to FHA-backed mortgages and extend that restriction across federally influenced mortgage markets. It comes after a landmark bipartisan agreement on affordable housing policy with the passing of the housing bill called the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, which I believe still hasn't been signed by the president because he wants the Save America Act signed as well. Now, more so than this, you have Senator Katie Britt, friend of the show, gearing up to codify the laws of who is a citizen and who is not. You know, if these guys had only done this when they passed the 14th Amendment, might not be having these problems today. I will say, though, that Clarence Thomas clearly laid out what it means to be an American in his dissent. And in fact, Libby Emmons from the Post-Millennial did a great job writing this up. He said to be an American means to have no other homeland, to owe no other allegiance to any foreign power, and to be subject to no other authority. It was with this in mind that he said the United States should not grant citizenship to persons who are temporarily in the country. The same could not be said for children of foreign temporary visitors. He went on to say, foreign temporary visitors were attached to their home country like similar bonds to this country and would not be called upon in times of war. Americans, consistent with their settler ethos, believed that citizens were the people who called a place home. Libby Evans writes, this is what we have seen with numerous immigrant groups who come in from foreign places while maintaining full ties to that place. and to the customs of that place. Unlike many immigrant groups who have come to the U.S. from Mexico, the Americas, Europe, and Vietnam, among other places, and cast off their ties, embracing America, new batches of people come in, take benefits, scam public systems, and attempt to implement the laws, cultures, and customs of the land they left. Quote, accordingly, domicile, a person's legal home, played a key role in both state and national citizenship in America. A person was a citizen of the state where he had visited his domicile. Barber v. Barber, when foreigners temporarily visited, their national character was unchanged. That's what they wrote. A person born here, not domiciled in a foreign land, was therefore considered as much as a stranger to the country as his father. Clarence Thomas makes it clear that the 14th Amendment preclusion against those becoming citizens who have fealty to other nations is correct. In her concurrence, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson took issue with Thomas's view, saying, oddly, both the Supreme Court has denied freed slaves the promise of citizenship, and that the court can be compared to an elementary school teacher that scolds a bully and expects all bullies to therefore straighten up and fly right. She writes that consensus about the 14th Amendment's central motivation does not justify Justice Thomas's myopic treatment of it. In her weird analogy, the scolding is the Wong Kim Ark ruling, and that the bully is the United States. She said the amendment caused a paradigm shift in the trajectory of our nation. The teacher who scolds a student for bullying a classmate hopes the student learn the broader lesson of treating everyone with kindness, not just that one kid. What is she talking about? I mean, really, in this case, I have no clue what the woman just said. I really have no idea. I have no clue what she is rambling about. No idea at all. In fact, here's my response to Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's, which unfortunately I had to read so you didn't have to.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I have no clue what she is talking about. I seriously don't. Thomas offers a much more cohesive view, and far from being myopic, it understands the roots of the issue of citizenship. Quote, Congress implemented the principle that citizenship follows birth and domicile in the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and then in the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment. That clause, he writes, was consistently interpreted not to apply to the children of foreign temporary visitors who were, by definition, not domiciled in the United States. Regardless of any administration or party, the federal government for decades after ratification regularly denied claims to citizenship by children who were born in the United States but not domiciled there. In conclusion, Thomas writes, the court today takes the extraordinary step of holding facially unconstitutional the president's order excluding from citizenship the children of foreign temporary visitors and illegal aliens. In doing so, the court adds to the sad history of the 14th Amendment, which was designed and understood to secure equal rights for the freed blacks, but has instead been repurposed for political projects that the Reconstruction Congress did not support, because many potential applications of the president's order are consistent with the original meaning of the Citizenship Clause, I respectfully dissent. You know, people say, oh, you're a bunch of racists, you Republicans. You know what I want? I want 9 Clarence Thomases on that court. I want 9 Clarence Thomases. I think that's what every Republican wants. Let me know what you guys think about the birthright citizenship ruling. Give us a call or a text during our final hour free-for-all at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss, including the fact that in Seattle, you have Bob Ferguson and crew claiming that we're a world-class city. I don't think anybody believes them. We'll also take more of your texts and more of your calls. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. After the show tonight, I got to run out to SeaTac Airport. First, I got to pack. Yeah, believe it or not, didn't pack. And I got a red-eye flight tonight. So that's going to be a challenge all on its own. I'm going to fly out to SeaTac Airport tonight because, assuming my flight and everything else is on time, tomorrow we'll be broadcasting from the Cannon Building at the U.S. Capitol. Very, very excited about this. And then on Thursday, the plan is right now to be broadcasting from the Great American State Fair. Maybe spend some time over in that abandoned Washington booth, which Bob Ferguson and Denny Heck never showed up to. Should be fun. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Russ out in Texas. Russ, what's going on, man?
Hey, Guy. Yeah, just, all this rhetoric here about the immigration stuff or the naturalization or the citizenship or whatever. I'm just a little confused by all this. I think the Supreme Court was horribly wrong in their decision. I got a lot of reasons for that, but I know my time is finite. But, just as a person that very quickly, my dad's side, I can trace my lineage here back to 1632. My mom's side, on the other hand, Grandpa and Grandma both came from Sweden, and they arrived in Ballard in the very early 20th century. And, she died Grandma died in like 1927, I think it was, a Swedish citizen. My grandpa died in 1977, a Swedish citizen. But when my mama, who was born here of Swedish citizens, when she turned 21, which would have been 1945, the State Department came to her and asked her, do you want to be an American citizen or Swedish? You can't be both. You got to make a choice. And, of course, she wanted to be an American citizen because that's the way Grandma and Grandpa raised her. They wouldn't even speak Swedish in the household. They wanted her to be an American. But what is this stuff nowadays where you can have, like, dual citizenship? Theodore Roosevelt even said you can only have one allegiance. You can't be tied to two nations. You're either an American or you're not.
Well, actually, this is a good opportunity to talk about something that gets hurled my way all the time. Ari, you have dual loyalty to Israel. I have one passport. It's the United States of America, just one. But Ari, your son serves in the Israeli Defense Forces. Yes, he does, because he moved to Israel, and it's mandatory service when you live in that country. And if anybody else moved there, they'd be required to do the exact same thing. So I get this thing thrown at me all the time. I am fifth-generation American, so Russ, you definitely have me beat there. I'm fifth generation on one side. I am 1, 2, 3, fourth on the other side. So while I think it's pretty cool, I've been here a while. Your family's been here a lot longer than mine. But I'll just tell you from my experience, from my family's experience, to get on those boats that went to Castle Garden, my family came through there, not Ellis Island, you had to actually buy a ticket, and you had to have a job, and you had to have a sponsor. And you had to have all your paperwork in place. It wasn't just all the boats and on the planes. They come into America. No, it was you actually had to buy the tickets to get on the boats and the planes, Neil Diamond. That's what it actually was. Right, Russ?
Well, yeah. I mean, with my great, however far you want to go back, grandfather, there was no Ellis Island, but, you had to make the trip across the ocean. And when he landed at Ipswich, it was a whole new world, and go off to start making something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what most people did. Until now, it's, hey, come freeload off America. Russ, God bless you. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show, my man. When we, sorry, hang on. We got one more caller here. I was about to go to break. Hang on. Let me go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Ben in SeaTac. Ben, what's going on, man?
Okay, well, we all agree that it really stinks, but don't get too discouraged. There's things that we can do. Well, first off, the parents and the child can still be deported, and then they get to come back when they're 18, if they're still alive, but it's not my problem. But the thing is that that's just one thing. They still get deported. Number two, we have to start enforcing the sanctuary, not enforcing, but start prosecuting sanctuary city and state politicians. When Pritzker said, I'm going to give illegal, undocumented immigrants in-state tuition, the next day he should be arrested for harboring illegal aliens
Well,
and arraigned.
it's more than that. Let's start with this for a second, Ben, because your last point is definitely merits discussion. So we have all these people that say, we are going to create a law that violates the law and violates our oath of office. So even before we talk about which laws they violated, they are openly admitting that they are violating federal law, and they are creating a law to violate federal law, which no way that's legal. No way whatsoever. In fact, I think rather than going for the birthright citizenship fight, I think the sanctuary city fight would be a lot more fun. A sanctuary state fight would be a lot more fun. So wait a second. You took an oath to uphold the laws of this country, and you passed a law that doesn't uphold the laws of this country. Then we can get a discussion about harboring illegal aliens. Then we can get into a discussion about using U.S. taxpayer dollars on illegal aliens. Then we can get into all those discussions. But right off the bat, you have people who are going around crowing, bragging that they violated the law by passing a law that doesn't actually have the authority to supersede the federal law. Got that right?
Yeah, and what you have to do is you have to start prosecuting these people and bankrupt the Democrat Party, bankrupt everything. Put them. You have to make them. We have to show that we got a pair. They're breaking the law. I could sit there and read you the law. I mean, just encouraging illegal entry in the United States is a felony.
I think here's the problem. Yeah, I think here's the problem, Ben, is that the federal government, as much as we go, it's the federal government, they're huge. They are not as huge to take on every lawyer and every law firm in the country, and there's only so many fights they could do at one time. Look, we love Harmeet Dillon, and we love the Justice Department, and we love what they're doing with taking on all these college campuses, but have you noticed there haven't been a lot of prosecutions with a lot of these college campuses? It seems like they used up all their juice on Columbia and Harvard and never really got around to the University of Washington and many other places. It seems like they want to fight every battle, but you can't fight every battle. You have to be strategic about your battles. And I think that's the problem, where we want to go after everything. I'm not sure they necessarily have the manpower to do it, especially when people like Nick Brown have 900 lawyers working for him. Ben, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Over on the text line, El Darthbo says he has tears of sorrow in his eyes today. The Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship is another big drip in the bucket of turning America red. You mean commie red, not Republican red. I have 3 boys who were born in the U.S. from immigrant parents who have served our country in the military and the fire department. I am Australian by birth, American by choice. Couldn't have said it better myself. Couldn't have said it better myself. Up next, my friends, Turd Ferguson saying Seattle's killing it when it comes to the World Cup. Maybe you want to check out a few other places around here before he makes that claim. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just to remind everybody that coming up during our good news segment at 5:45, we're going to have a good news announcement for you. No, it's not that I'm going to Washington, D.C. It's something all new, unexpected, and I guarantee you will enjoy. So make sure you are listening to our good news segment. And no, it's not giving away fantabulous prizes. I know a lot of you have theories on what this might be. But coming up at 5:45 today, good news announcement that I think all of you will be very, very happy about. So make sure you are listening then. So Turd Ferguson and Katie Wilson and Dow Constantine and Gurmay Zahalai had a press conference yesterday. Now, I do love that Katie Wilson had to go off on a tangent explaining why they moved the press conference last minute. Young Zach was supposed to head on over to the press conference, couldn't because they moved the location to one nobody expected. Were they hiding from the press? No. Apparently, Katie Wilson wanted to make sure it wasn't held in the Embassy Suites Hotel with the stadiums behind them, because that was the optics they were going for. You know, when they make those announcements and the stadium is behind them, they could do that? Yeah. Well, apparently they didn't want to cross the picket line to support the evil, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad hotel where those workers are striking right now. Oh, you petty children. You petty, petty children. So do you think that by not having an event paid for by taxpayer dollars at this hotel, the hotel is going to have more or less money? More or less money to pay those workers? What do you think, guys? What do you think? I'm just spitballing here, but something tells me they probably lost their deposit of your taxpayer dollars to Virtue Signal. I think we should go to the public disclosure request and see how much money they pay for press conferences. When last time I checked their City Hall, right? That's still, I mean, it's not free, but you don't have to rent space at City Hall. You can go over there and do it. Governor's Mansion, perhaps. Or, I don't know, them FIFA people. They took over our whole city. Maybe you could go have it in the stadium for a minute. Maybe, just maybe. Hey, FIFA guys, you mind if we do a press conference, talk about how great FIFA is? Maybe. But no, you got to drop our money doing it at one of the hotels. I'm so curious how much a press conference in a hotel costs. We're going to find out. We will find out. Also, here's something else. Doesn't King County have a building literally right across the street from that hotel? Because that's the one where Jonathan Cho and Andrew Suarez and I found that Kshama Sawant and her insane band of communist lunatics are storing all their protest gear. Literally a King County building, the old Kingdom Deli location. They are stacking their placards and their bullhorns and their banners and their walkie-talkies. And I filed a public disclosure request to find out how much they're paying for this. That's corner retail. That is usually the most expensive retail, right near the stadiums, in the heart of downtown Seattle. That is probably one of the most expensive retail locations. Was it given? Or was it just, we support what you're doing. Here you go, because then I'm going to call an illegal campaign contribution to Kshama Sawant. Well, with the protesters there, you can't really claim that you have a world-class city when you have protesters across the street from the World Cup led by a communist, Marxist like Kshama Sawant. But here's what Bob Ferguson claimed.
I remember talking about how competitive it is for any city to be awarded a World Cup match or matches, and how competitive that process is. And you've got to be a world-class city to prevail through that very competitive process. I think we're one of the 11 United States cities, if I recall correctly. But it's clear from those most elite cities that our city and our state are the most world-class of all. Again, not just my opinion. You've seen on social media what people around the world have said as they've come right here to experience what's going on here. It truly is remarkable. Not a surprise for us who live here and know this place, but it's been very rewarding to see people around the world see what we all know and have come to appreciate. Lastly, I have literally traveled the world to see soccer matches. I've twice gone to England to see tours of English Premier League soccer matches. I've been to Barcelona and seen Messi play in Barcelona. So I know my way around soccer fields and atmospheres. I'm not surprised that Seattle is getting this kind of reaction. It literally is world-class in every possible conceivable sense of the word, and it's been a real pleasure for the state to partner with all these truly amazing partners to help make it that reality.
Okay, world-class city. Do you have people dying on sidewalks of world-class cities? Do you have that happening in world-class cities? Because I don't really think you do. I don't. Do you have stories like this in world-class cities? You know, the man charged with murdering the UW trans student was found incompetent to stand trial and is undergoing a psych treatment. Now, every city has crime. Every single city has crime. But it kind of feels like we got more than our fair share of crime around here. Democrats want to talk about their fair share. I think we have more than our fair share of crime. Here in our world-class city, we have Lewis Park, which I had the unfortunate of going to just a few weeks ago, where you literally have druggies lining the whole way. Doing fentanyl. You have Honduran drug dealers operating in there, according to Jonathan Cho. Is that what you see in a world-class city? In a world-class city, do you see people doing the Fetty Fold wherever you go? Today, as I was driving in 4th Avenue, they still haven't cleaned up those tents, which they forgot to clean up for the Pride Parade, which came back shortly after they cleared them out when the World Cup started. What we got, Kevin? 2 weeks left to the World Cup? 2 weeks left? You got this week where you got one match tomorrow. Whew, I'm missing the traffic. That's good because I'm going to D.C. So we got that tomorrow, and then we've got the big game on Monday, which might be featuring America in a knockout round. Who do we have to beat? I don't even know who we have to beat. Come on, I'm not going to pretend like I'm following any of this.
You mean in our next game, if they're to come back here and play in Seattle,
yeah,
they need to beat Bosnia-Herzegovina or Herzegovina,
yes,
or however you choose to say it.
It's fine. So we need to take down the terrorist supporters. Cool. All right, I'm down with this. This is great. Let's take down those Bosnian Herzegovina types. Take them down, and then we come back here and we might get a presidential visit out of the deal. Did you see this report yesterday? We saw that King County Airport is now advising Kenmore Air that they might have presidential interruptions. Oh, man. Do you know what it's like when the president comes to town in Seattle? We're not designed for this at all. We really are not. So Seattle Times reported this. So that means either El Presidente himself or Vice Presidente might be coming to town for the game, which I'm pretty excited about. I emailed the White House right away. As soon as I saw that announcement, I emailed the White House. I'm like, pretty please. Pretty please, I will fly back from D.C. with you. Take me on Air Force One back with you to Seattle just so I can interview the man on the plane. We've had him on the phone, never met him in person. This could be a lot of fun. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's do it, right? No, Kevin's shaking his head. Kevin's shaking his head because he doesn't think it's going to happen.
No,
right?
I just shook my head because you said, let's go.
Oh, the boomer. It's the boomer in me.
Can't do
Sorry.
it.
Throwback to the first hour where we're talking about how we're boomers. Anywho, so that might happen here. And then what's going to happen? Okay, so Kevin's going to love this one. So one time I'm rushing home from work, and I used to work in Georgetown. And I'm going my usual route, and I had no idea that Obama and Air Force One were at the airport right there in Georgia. Had no idea they're out of Boeing Field. I got stuck there for an hour as I'm rushing home for the Sabbath on a Friday. I cussed Obama's very existence that day because I couldn't get home before I turned into a pumpkin for the Sabbath. I was all kinds of mad sitting there in my Charger, and I'm like, I'm burning gas because of Obama. Obama had the worst timing ever. I remember one time I was in Chicago visiting my grandparents. God rest their souls. I'm in Chicago, and I took my boys with me. And, you know, little kids, you kind of want to get them home because at one point they're kind of tired of the vacation. You just want to get them home. Obama shut down O'Hare Airport for 3 hours so he could come vote. So he could come vote in Chicago. For him, I would have allowed him an absentee ballot. I think he could have gotten one, but no, he wanted the photo op. So he shut that down, delayed me for 2-3 hours in O'Hare Airport. Enough of that. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines and your good news announcement. Put a smile on your face. Heading into your evening commute, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before I tell you what we have in store for the next couple of episodes and possibly something next week as well, let me give you the big announcement I promised all of you. So Del Walmsley, behind Lifestyles Unlimited, which usually follows my show, is retiring. Del's had a very long career. We wish him well, but he's retiring. And when you have an hour of content you need to fill, what are we going to fill it with? Well, my friends, you're going to get to hear the best of the show from that day. We're going to re-rack the best segments of every single day. So those of you who missed the beginning parts of the show will get to hear them during this last hour, this Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded, you might even call it. You might call it that. Who knows? I mean, if there's a gun sponsor or a gun range out there that wants to sponsor something of that or re-racked, I don't know, maybe there's a CD company that's still in business, whatever it is, or a boob augmentation one. I don't know, anything. We're happy to take your money for the Ari Hoffman final hour, which we'll have. So from now on, at 6 o'clock, you get a bonus hour of the Ari Hoffman Show. It will be all the content from that day you might have missed. We're not going to pretend that it's live. We're going to tell you exactly. It's a best of hour. You're going to love it. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, to let the listeners know about kind of how the sausage is made and radio in general, most people will listen to the show when they're in their car.
Right.
So if you got a 3-hour commute and it starts at your commute starts around 3, then you get to listen usually to the entire show.
Yes. Matt Gilbert actually told me the other day he was actually driving somewhere for like 6 hours and he listened to the entire show end to end.
Now,
yeah,
you're rare. Yeah. Usually most people listen to an hour, during whatever time they're in their car in their commute. And that's the way things work. So, and then people will go to the website and download the podcast or whatever podcast service they use and maybe listen to the whole show that way.
Right.
But this is a nice way because I know there's some people that are that get in their car late or they have a job where they work late.
Yep.
And they either get to hear the last hour of the show and they missed the first 2 hours.
Yep.
This is going to be a good way for them to kind of catch up on what they missed.
Absolutely. So you're going to get a bonus hour of the Ari Hoffman Show with all the stuff from that day's episode. It'll be great. And then don't forget, right after me, Mark Levin.
Yeah.
So those of you who are not big on financial advice, that's fine. We got the politics for you. And we're going to have me. And right after me, you get Mark Levin. So you get back-to-back Jews. It'll be very exciting. It'll be good stuff. So
very exciting.
You'll have that. I'm going to see if I can find Mark Levin, Mr. Levin, the great one, while I am in Washington, D.C. That'll be a lot of fun. So thank you, Kevin, for putting that together because every single day Kevin's going to have to listen to the show and go, all right, what was the craziest part of the show that we're going to put together, right?
Oh, yeah, and you're saying, the best of, I'll do the best I can because keep in mind, I'm going to be doing this. And here's the other thing. We are live right now, people.
Yes.
There are plenty of radio shows that say live and local.
Yes.
That are not live.
Yes.
And I'm not saying sometimes we're not.
Yes.
Sometimes when you're traveling, sometimes when you're not able to come in, we let you know. We play a thing that says the show was recorded earlier.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the content is
Isn't
repeated
new.
content
Right.
or isn't new.
Yeah.
But
like here, how the sausage is made again. Tomorrow, while I'm in D.C. I am going there at 9 a.m., which is 6 a.m. our time to start getting interviews. Guess what? A lot of the interviews you hear tomorrow will be recorded earlier in the day.
But it will be new content.
Brand new content from Washington, D.C. for 2 days. Now let's, go ahead.
But we try our best, and most of the time, I don't know what the percentage is, we are live and local from 3 to 6.
I'd say 90% of
Pretty
the time,
much.
easy.
When the sun starts going down,
then you got some issues on Fridays.
On Fridays,
on
but
Fridays.
that's typically it.
That's it. And I love being in studio. I think that's the difference between me and some other hosts, perhaps. I love being here. I love doing what I do. In fact, I remember during the COVID era, you guys, I don't know if you remember this, you guys actually offered me to do the show from home with the COVID restrictions stuff. And I said, absolutely not. I want to be in here. I get a different energy from the studio. The show sounds better when I'm in the studio. And don't get me wrong, I got a microphone just like this one at home for my Newsmax hits, and they still sound better here in the studio. So I like being here.
Yeah, we don't take for granted the fact that people can call us up and get on the show and interact with you.
Yes.
We love that.
We love the text, even when you disagree with me. Even all the people who are labeled angry this person and angry that person and crazy this person. We love all that. That's half the fun. The phone call. We got a phone call from Texas today. We like that kind of stuff. We live for that. So that's why we are in studio so often.
And it's a rare thing nowadays with the way that the radio market is going, and even across the country.
Yep.
It's very tough to find a live local show that you can interact with. It's just kind of a rare thing now.
Exactly. So tomorrow, now I'm going to give you the schedule for my trip to D.C. because this is going to be great. I am landing at, which airport is it? It's one of the two D.C. airports. I have to look up. I really have to look at where I'm going. Landing at the airport, getting my rental car, heading straight to the U.S. Capitol. Traffic, from what I hear, is going to be an hour. So I have 1 hour of lead time in between, which is probably not the smartest thing. So I have 1 hour to get in my car, head on over to the Capitol, get to the Capitol. First interview of the day, Jim Jordan. That's how I'm starting off the day. And then it's the marathon of interviews that I'm going to be getting out of the Capitol. After I'm done there, I'm heading over to a press conference. After I'm done at the press conference, it's a nonstop. It is a crazy, crazy day tomorrow. Thursday is a little bit more chill. Thursday, I'm going to be broadcasting, please God, everything works out okay, from the Great American State Fair. Maybe even from the Washington booth. We have no idea. I am taking some KVI pocket constitutions with me and some American flags to give out to the children, for the people. I'm giving them out to the children because Washington State didn't bother showing up at their own booth. Then my wife, is going to be with me. So I think we'll check out the Ferris wheel. The Great American Ferris wheel that's above all that. By the way, something else. Somebody who I was talking to today told me this whole narrative that the media is trying to create that nobody's at the fair, the thing they're leaving out, first of all, a lot of these hits are done first thing in the morning. The fair opens at 10, and these hits are being done for the morning shows. But number two, it's 105 degrees in Washington, D.C. The pavilions are air-conditioned. The outdoor mall is not. Where would you be? That's right. So I'm going to make sure I'm inside the air conditioning thing because I went shopping for new clothing this week just because of D.C. I don't have a lot of summer clothing that isn't shorts and T-shirts. That's what I got. I had to go get stuff you can wear to Congress. Means lots of linen, lots of linens and cottony stuff. So I got a lot of that stuff. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be great 2 days of show for you. We'll be back tomorrow from Washington, D.C. with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show.